Hey y'all, it's Britt, and I'm going to show you how to make a circle skirt with just 2 seams. Here's a list of things you'll need. In the description, I've included a link to my circle skirt chart. That is a free download. So right now I'm just going to begin by demonstrating how to properly fold this, because it's really important that you cut it in the right corner or else you're going to be sewing more than one seam, trust me. So right now I'm folding left to right, right side's up, wrong side's facing out. And you can do this on your bed, on the floor, on a kitchen table, whatever you got really. Now I'm folding from top to bottom. I call it the hamburger fold, much like a hamburger. Just lining up my corners, making sure my edges are straight and even. And I'm using a point knit fabric to point, I don't know, P-O-N-T-E. You tell me how to pronounce it in the comments below. Using that kind of knit material, I really like the flow and the structure of it. Right now I'm just demonstrating to you where the double fold is at and where the single fold is at, because that's the corner that you're going to want to be placing your pattern on. Now, I did not use a pattern. I'm using measurements. My friend's measurements, actually. At the end of this video, I'll show you a picture of her wearing the skirt. But right now, I'm just marking 4 3/4 of an inch down from the corner, from that very tip-toppy point. Just taking that measurement, going across in a sort of half circle, and not in a sort of, you're going to need a half circle shape. It's actually a quarter circle if you want to be specific, but since we have it folded in fourths, it'll be a full circle. Going through, measuring that, adding a lot of pins, making sure that they're really accurate. I'm measuring down from the measurements that I just pinned. Now, my friend wanted a 23-inch circle skirt. I decided to go as long as I could. I did about, I think, 25 inches, and that was just because I didn't know if she wanted it hemmed or not, and that was before I decided that I wasn't going to hem it either. So this is a little bit longer than she wanted, but I always recommend always cut your pieces out bigger than you need them to be, because it is so much easier to cut away a little at a time than to take too much off. So like I said, I'm just measuring down from the points that I've already marked, continuing my circular shape all the way across, and just filling it up with pins as I go. This literally took me 3 hours? 3 hours to make this, and that was because I was also trying to film it for the first time. So just imagine how much quicker you'll be at it, hopefully, than I was. So just continuing to mark and pin. Ooh, and now we're at the most frightening stage of this event, cutting. So, and you'll see me do this in just a second, but I'm going to cut on the inside of the pins. And I'm doing this because if I put the pins right at my seam allowance, I don't want to cut further than the pins go, because then I'll be cutting into the skirt, thus losing some of my seam allowance. I would rather have more seam allowance. I'm using 1/2 inch seam allowance that is included on the circle skirt chart. And I just like to use a lot because, like I said before, I'd rather cut off seam allowance or re-sew it just a smidge more than to have to try to make it bigger, which is impossible once you've cut it too short. So right now I'm just prepping to cut the bottom of the circle skirt, and I'm terribly out of frame, and I apologize for this. Y'all, first video, here we go, living the dream. Oop, now you can see me, look at me go. And I'm just gonna cut just a little bit on the outside of the pin, because that will be adding length to the skirt, and I would rather add than subtract at this stage. Now, onto the sewing machine. No, JK, just kidding. Guess what I did without you? I made the waistband without you. So, essentially what I did was I took my friend's waist measurement, 35 inches, added an inch, 36 inches, and so that's the length of the waistband. The width of the waistband is 4 inches. You can play around with this however much you want. Again, I'm sewing with 1/2 inch seam allowance. The serger, I know it doesn't look like I'm taking off a lot, but the needles on the serger are set in further than it looks like on a regular sewing machine especially, so be careful with that. Check your model and make sure that you're doing 1/2 inch, but again, it's going to be your waist measurement plus an inch, and the width of the waistband will be 4 inches. Folding the seam allowance to one side, folding it in half over itself, right sides out, wrong sides being hidden away, pinning that into place. And I'm going to do, I do not know the official name for it, but I'm going to call it pinning in quarters, because that's essentially what we're doing. We're going to divide this up into 4 equal parts, so that way when you pin this slightly smaller waistband to the slightly larger cut out circle in the skirt, you can stretch it so nothing should pucker or crease unsightly or anything like that. So I'm just continuing. I'm folding it in half, pinning the half point, folding in half the other way, pinning those half points as well. And I'm fixing to do the same thing on the skirt. But what's cool about the skirt is since we've already folded it into fourths, they're already there. Your edges are already there, and you just need to pin into the folds on the sides, making sure that you get 4 of them in there. You're going to match all your pins up to their fellow quarter markings, and you're going to pin them together. Now you'll have your fabric bunch up in some places. We'll fix that when we sew it, because you are going to have to stretch this a little bit. A little bit scary, I know. It's always a little bit scary for me too, but trust me, pinning it like this is so much easier than freehanding it. Really taking your time to do this. And you see what I mean by that little gap? I just found the middle point of the skirt and the middle point of the waistband, and I pinned them together. So now, onwards to the scariest part of the program. It's a little hard to get started with the serger because the threads are kind of in your way and you have to feed it into it. Just like when you're taking it out, you have to feed it out. So I'm going to cut very little off of this, and you will see me manipulate the hell out of this, because I'm telling you, trying to sew a circular edge to the straight edge of a waistband, it don't want to go. You have to force this puppy to go through. I have this sped up. I think it's 300% faster than real time. Take your time. Make sure all your layers are where you need them to be. They're all lined up. You see just cutting off just a little sliver, because for me, that's where my 1/2 inch margin is on my serger. And you can totally do this with the sewing machine. You will just need to use a zigzag stitch. You will need to test your zigzag stitch. You see me stretching from front to back. That's really important. And I'm only stretching the waistband so that it will fit the circumference of the circle skirt. So it's really important that you're not stretching both, because you'll be fighting a losing battle. As long as you're stretching to match the pins, you should be bueno. And there you have it. it is finished. One seam for the waistband and one seam around the waist. And there you have it. There's my good friend Micaiah displaying this beautiful skirt for me, and I'm just astounded at how beautiful it is on her. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please leave a comment and a like and subscribe. I would really appreciate all of your feedback and hope you have a good one. Bye!